Soil degradation in Sonora, Mexico. The problem of erosion in land for livestock use. Sonora is one of the 31 states that, with Mexico City, comprise the 32 federal entities of United Mexican States. Sonora's natural geography is divided into three parts: the Sierra Madre Occidental in the east of the state, which is a major mountain range system, the coast on the Gulf of California, and plains and rolling hills in the center. Habits and vegetation vary greatly depending on elevation and rainfall. About 49% of the territory of Sonora is in arid grasslands, 42% is covered in desert vegetation, 3% is farmland, 4% is covered in forest, and 1% in rainforest. The state contains 139 species and subspecies of native mammals. The number of bird species native to the state is not known. There are four major climate regions in the state: dry desert, arid lands, semi-moist lands, and temperate zones. 90% of the state has desert or arid conditions. Precipitation is seasonal and most occurs in the higher elevations. In hot and arid or semi-arid lands, evaporation vastly exceeds precipitation. Average high temperatures range from 12.7 to 35 Celsius degrees, and average low temperatures range from 5.9 to 35.2 Celsius degrees. Agriculture is the most important economic activity in the state, mostly with the production of grains. Irrigation is essential for agriculture on the coastal lowlands of the state. 88% of all water taken from above and below the surface is used for agriculture. One-third of aquifers are overdrafted. The overpumping has drastically lowered water tables and has increased soil salinity in many areas. Livestock is the second most important activity, especially the beef cattle. Other important activities for the economy of Sonora are fishing, mining, and industry, mostly related to agriculture and fishing, in food processing and packing. The soil threat of Sonora, the certification. The certification has been defined as the spread of desert-like conditions in arid and semi-arid areas due to man's influence or climate change. The problems. Erosion affects almost 100% of the Sonoran surface. Nearly three-quarters of the Sonoran territory suffer from moderate to very severe erosion. The contribution of the different land uses to the erosion process is shown in the table, being the land occupied by the bovine livestock the largest area affected by this problem. The presence of salts in the soil is a characteristic of arid places, especially in places where the water table is close to the surface. The main activity related to soil salinity is irrigated agriculture. The main causes of erosion are animal overload, clearing, extraction of non-timber species. For salinization, the main causes are overexploitation of aquifers, poor drainage systems, and poor leveling of the land. The on-site effects are decrease in planting area and therefore in the production, destruction of native vegetation, and reduction of soil functions and the limitation of plant growth due to high levels of salts. The off-site effects are increased risk of erosion by water and wind, overexploitation of water, and the loss of species is also expected. The main stakeholders are the rural community, the consumers, environmental organizations, and politicians in a local, regional, and national level. The future business as usual scenario. Desertification is a rapidly progressing phenomenon that causes the loss of hectares suitable for cultivation and grazing. An alteration of the soil-plant atmosphere, which tends to accentuate the conditions that combine high levels of stress and disturbance that plants and wildlife must withstand. This may lead to changes in the soil microclimate due to changes in the absorption of solar energy, sensitive heat flux, temperature, and evaporation. The floristic composition can also be changed, favoring the invasion of specific plant species of degraded soils. Agricultural areas are abandoned when farming practices deplete soil nutrients and yields tend to decline. Deterioration and even loss of soil structural stability is expected. Process of biological degradation of the soil, like the loss of nutrients, will continue and furthermore the trend to compaction and crusting will be promoted. So, in the business as usual scenario, we expect in short term loss of soil properties and structure and loss of fertility. In a medium term, we expect floods, dust storms, and food shortage. And in long term, we expect social conflicts, mass migrations, and economic losses. Although desertification is the degradation of soils in arid zones and has both natural and anthropogenic causes, there are several measures that can be implemented to minimize the risk. Some managing factors to control the desertifications are policy changes related to how people can farm, policy changes to other types of land use, education, technology advances, and putting together rehabilitation efforts. Some conservation measures are production rotation and breeding of drought-resistant crops for agricultural development, rotational grazing and production of multi-purpose crops for range development, water provision integrated with range conservation and pasture management, and regulate and rationalize the use of groundwater for water development, afforestation, conservation, and proper forestry utilization in forestry development, sand dune stabilization techniques, formulation of policies, and avoidance of interest conflicts as sociopolitical development. The expected effects of the measures are to stop or prevent desertification in areas that are only slightly degraded or in good condition through preventive measures, to restore the productivity of moderately degraded lands through corrective measures, and to restore the productivity of extremely degraded areas with rehabilitation and sanitation measures. Conclusions. Erosion is a problem present in all Sonoran soils. Erosion responds both to the fragility of the soil itself and to the productive practices that affect the vegetation cover, mainly in the livestock activity. Erosion, more than a state of soils, is a process that will continue to progress if measures are not taken to avoid it. Actions should be considered at the same time to stop desertification, making it possible to improve the living conditions of those who inhabit these regions. Rural communities could maximize the productions from their land because although the difficulties faced in arid zones, they also show persistence to reintegrate into the life in these regions.